Hi Joes, welcome to today's video. We are dealing with disappointment. Disappointment. Okay, what does it mean to disappoint? Let's look up the definition. Sadness or displeasure caused by non-fulfillment of one's hopes or expectations. So having hopes and expectations and that not being fulfilled equals disappointment. Disappointment is a part of life because nothing in life is perfect, because none of us are perfect, only God. Okay, so it is human nature, it is inevitable that in this life we will experience disappointment. But how do you deal with disappointment when it comes? What do? Sometimes you can experience disappointments in a situation. You're hopeful that it'll turn out differently and it didn't. You can experience disappointments in people. You are hopeful they would turn out different, but they didn't. You can experience disappointment within yourself. You had yourself to an expectation and you were not able to fulfill said expectation. All right. So how you deal with disappointment? Number one, understand that you're going through disappointment. Acknowledge it. I really don't like when people try to make it seem like, don't pay attention to it. Pay attention to the goodness. Bro, it's all a part of it. You are disappointed and it is okay. It is absolutely okay to feel disappointed. It's absolutely okay to experience that emotion. And I would say for you to be able to be aware and acknowledge that you are disappointed about a situation, about a person, and validate that disappointment. Like, what you did was wrong. What I did was wrong. What I put myself through was wrong. Why I stayed in the situation, like validate it and acknowledge it. Because minimizing it, ignoring it, trying to push it away, it's only going to come back in a much greater, bigger way, and affect you so much more later than it is now. So I would say to acknowledge and validate your disappointment. And sometimes just also know that it's a feeling that you just again, allow yourself to experience and to kind of ride the wave of it. I hate saying it that way. But accept how you feel and just allow yourself to process that disappointment. Okay. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. And I think this is such a big one because when we're disappointed, we start to think that we are a disappointment. But a situation or something that happened is causing us to experience it, right? I am not my experiences. I might have failed at something, but I'm not a failure. So you might have been disappointed by something, someone, a situation, yourself, but you yourself are not a disappointment. So remember who you are, because it's in those moments of like sadness and downness that, it's like the devil, he literally kicks you while you're down. And he's just like, oh, you're such a disappointment. You're not. What you did was disappointing. What happened was disappointing, but you are not your mistake. And you are not disappointment. So remember who you are. Okay? Most importantly, learn from that disappointment. Learn from that decision. Learn from that choice. Learn from that person. Learn from it. I remember when I was in school, undergrad, and I would do things, right, that would put me in a position where my grades were in jeopardy because of what was going on just at life at that time. And so I didn't really care. My motivation was low, and I'll do things and put myself in like situations, and then I stand a risk of having academic probation. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, well, you're going to lose your financial aid. You have to prove to us that you can stay on here. And I'm just like, okay, fine. And I'll get back on it and I'll do it and get the grades. And then I'll make the dean's list. Then they'll take me off probation. And then like the next semester, it was just like, I kept doing this yo-yo of I fail, I pass, I fail, I pass, I fail, I pass. And when I would pass, it was because of the threat of losing my financial aid. But I would say I didn't learn from those things. It wasn't until like the last semester that I did that I had to pay out of pocket. And I was like, whoa. And even though I was disappointed in myself for finding myself back in that space, I learned from that opportunity finally. And I learned from that situation. And I chose to see the value in staying on top of my work. Okay, so learn from your disappointments. Learn from your disappointments. Find something of value. When you reflect in it, just learn from that. Oh, at least I got to grow in this way. Oh, at least I got to do this. I got to do that. But find something valuable that you can learn from it, and ask yourself, like, not to make those mistakes. So some questions that I've heard people ask, like, what is one thing I can learn from this? How can I adjust my expectations to avoid disappointment in the future? What is one thing I could do differently? Learn from it. Like, I knew I needed to stay on top of my work, or I needed to let this person know from the jump that I didn't appreciate it when you did this. So learn from every single disappointing moment in your life. And while you were learning from your disappointment, one other thing is to kind of look at, like, what were my expectations in the first place? Did you have realistic expectations that it wasn't even attainable in the first place? You get what I'm saying? So when you're being reflective, when you're trying to ask yourself questions to learn from your disappointing moment, ask yourself, was my expectation too high? Or was it an expectation of perfection? Was it attainable? And if it was, then you need to make some adjustments. All right? And then try again, girl. Come on, guy. You got this. You got this. Learn from your mistake, okay? Adjust your expectations. Not that settle. That's not what I'm saying. We would never settle over here. But I'm saying, like, adjust your expectations in the sense of, it wasn't a really attainable goal or attainable expectation in the first place, then adjust it, because then your disappointment is like inevitable. It's going to happen. You feel me? Talk to somebody. Again, I'm going to keep pushing this therapy and Jesus, counseling and Christ. Okay. Go to one, talk to somebody, let them help you out. Let them talk you through that disappointment and just kind of help you see, like, your blind spots and where you weren't able to see in the first place. All right. Find a way to move forward from that moment. Find a way to move forward from that moment. Don't let your disappointment just stay there. Talk it out, write it out, reflect it out. Again, counseling in Christ, therapy in Jesus. Go talk it out. And don't let it fester. Don't let it stay there. Talk through your disappointment. But it's okay that you're a disappointment. It just means you're human. So, whew. Tell me, what are some ways that you deal with disappointment? Share them down below. If you haven't done so already, comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram is Hello Jasmine O. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I hope you come back soon because there's so much more to talk about. Until next time, bye.
Little Skittle up in the house. Got my feet in